Hello friends, it is day 16 in our Proverbs study. I'm in my car because I couldn't make it further than dropping Sean at the dentist and back home or work. So he's copying me now, and he is now, when he goes to the dentist, he takes a little sleepy pill. I think he realizes that not only do you not feel anything, you don't remember anything. And the dentist, I love you, Chad. I love you, all the dentists out there. But can I just say, I just think it is just a step below torture. I hate it so much. So love you, dentist. But Sean's there now. We are in Proverbs 16, and I am so excited because this is another, as always, a deep Proverbs study, a deep Proverbs chapter, but it's also, it's light if we are open to God. It can be heavy if we struggle with listening to the will of God or knowing what the will of God is. So excited. This subject today is God's will in decision making. So I see people are still logging on. Good morning, all of you wonderful people. It's so good to see your face, because I do get to see your little bubble if you have your face in your profile every single day. So take this time while people are still getting on to share, let people know that you're on, it's spreading to your circle, and comment to me. I have loved you guys giving the feedback and sharing things that are really connecting with you. Okay, Kylene feels the same way about the dentist. There is a theater play where the dentist is like the villain, and I think we all feel that way, yet we know they're very kind and they're here to help, but the dentist is so scary to me. So that would be someone who is connecting with what we're saying here. But also Proverbs, you guys are saying things that are connecting, and verses that are your favorite, and things that are really affecting you. And Gail, you do not love the dentist unless you feel like it's a massage for your gums. I don't know. Okay, so let's get into this. I see a lot are on, more will get on, and if we share this, start a watch party after this. Anyone who didn't catch it will. Okay, God's will in decision making. And again, my South Dakota accent, not will, but will. I'm gonna say it that way, will. God's will in decision making. How many people go, how do I know God's will? I know I have. I've needed to know God's will probably 150 times in my adult life. From, do I take this job? Do I not? Do we buy this house? Do we put the offer on the house? Do we buy that car? Do we have another child? Do we move across country? Like, the will of God for Jesus people is very important, and for all people to live in God's will is a much better way to live than just to go, well, I'm just going to do what I want and see if it works out. The great thing about God is that he rescues us. Sean and I last night, actually, he didn't know I was going to be talking about this, but last night we were sitting on our porch, and he was talking, kind of reflecting and saying, I wonder what would... He didn't even say, I wonder what would have, because we've had that discussion. He said, things would be a lot different if we would have never left Tacoma, Washington. And he said, actually, I don't think we were ever supposed to leave Tacoma. Now, he wasn't questioning Green Bay because there were stops along the way. He was questioning all the places we went after Tacoma, Washington. Pastor Buntain did not tell us to move away. He just said, you should be a full-time evangelist. And Sean and I were really quick to move. We were not slow to move. Well, if you know us, you go, Sonny, you guys are still not slow to move. We're fast movers, but we look for the will of God in a different way than we used to. We used to get an idea and just go, and sometimes, many times, to the peril of our life. And luckily, for so many of the years and the moves and the changes, we didn't have kids, so it only affected Sean and I. But we were very quick to move on. I think we should just go work, or if we got a job interview or a job offer, we just went, okay. We really viewed any open door as it must be God, especially when we were really going, we want to bring God into it. We would want to bring God into our decision making, like in the moment or after the fact, we weren't so much like, should we pray and think on this for weeks, at least days, pray first and then make a decision to know if it's the will of God. And so we were quick to jump, and there's benefits to being quick movers, fast movers. But when we were younger and dumber, and I think what we've realized is the older we get, the less we think we know. But when we were younger and dumber, because we all are younger, well, Sean and I were young and dumb. I'm not saying you are, we were young and dumb. And then we would move quick. Many times we would consult God after we'd made the decision, like, God, we're really, we do feel like you said to do that. And, we're really excited for the next thing. So will you please open up the door for a house for us, or for, somehow moving won't cost as much. And we'd consult him in the need, but we didn't consult him in the will of, is this something we should even be considering? So then our gracious, loving God, and we talked about this, maybe we weren't supposed to leave Tacoma when we did. Maybe we were never supposed to move to Houston. Sean feels we were never supposed to move to Detroit. Well, in retrospect, you can look back and see that. But then what we also can look at in retrospect is we serve such an amazing God that he would just scoop us up and go, all right, let's make the best of this, and would bless us and had his hand on us. And I think it's because we would catch up with the let's put God in the equation. So I will say that that's probably why God was with us, because we would put God in the equation of our decision, and God is so good that even if it's the wrong decision, he's like, let me make all things good of anything bad. And so we were blessed. But it's amazing when you do it the right way, which is consult God. God, what's your will? What do you have for my life? And then I'm praying for a peace. Maybe I'm doing a pros and cons list, or maybe I'm praying about, if we did this, God, I'm praying about this, and you are filled with a feeling, an emotion, a sense in your spirit of, I don't know. I don't know. That I'm a little unsure, confused, or I don't know. I have some hesitations. Sometimes that's the very answer you need on the will of God. And then the other side of it is you can look on this side and go, okay, now God, I'm praying on this and this decision. And you just have this overwhelming peace and this, yes. I don't know the details, but I know I feel peace and I feel a yes. That's consulting God. I've talked throughout the Proverbs study about doing something or saying something and tacking God's name on it. Like, well, God is telling me, God is leading me. And I believe that when God is leading us, we need to go. But let's be super careful to tack his name on it. In knowing the will of God, when you've consulted him first and then he's given you a peace and you go, I'm going to go in that direction, then you can confidently say, I feel God has given me a peace and is leading me this way. But when we make rash or quick or even decisions that don't really even look like that would be a thing God would get behind, but then we tack that on in order to convince people that they should listen to us because God has spoken. That is taking the Lord's name in vain. That's putting his name in a place it shouldn't be. So we have done that before. Sean and I are poster children for doing lots of stuff out of the will of God, but because we were serving him and loved him, we went and did something that probably wasn't his plan, but because we loved him and we still kept him in our life, he honored it. He honored us. You're really in a dangerous place when you just run in directions God's never consulted, beginning, middle, end. But the sweet spot is when you consult him first. The sweet spot is when you say, Jesus, I'm not even going to talk to my spouse about this yet. I'm not even going to talk to my mom about this yet. I'm just, God, I'm going to put this in my prayer journal. Maybe I'm going to put it on paper. I do this a lot. I put myself on the spot by putting things in my prayer journal. One, I want a record because I'm a little like, I want proof of this in 5 years if this thing ever goes down. So I have stuff in my prayer journal that it's a word or it's a code or it's a thought, and I put it there. And I pray and I circle them because then I can go back and I circle them again. It's kind of like, how many times am I praying for that? And sometimes you'll see my prayer journal that has one word. It's been circled so many times, but they were different days, different months. And then there are things that I have written over and over again in my prayer journal, and maybe only after a month of praying do I let Sean in on that. And that's my test, because I feel like God's kept it on my heart. The other thing that I've often done with prayer journaling is I've gone back and what I thought God's will was and what he would accomplish by next month. Didn't happen. I kind of was like, oh, I gave up on that. That's sad. Must have been bad pizza, or God, you failed me. You know, you didn't see me through. And then I'm looking through a prayer journal and I realize the thing that's happening now. I wrote my prayer journal 1.5 or 3 years ago, and I go, 3 years ago when it didn't happen the next month, I was kind of mad, and I kind of thought I was way off with you. It just was that it was yes, but not now. And it was 3 years later, it came to be. And now I'm seeing the fruit of the thing that you put in me and that you gave me a piece about, but I didn't know what to do, so I didn't just push the door open and walk through it. So the will of God. We're up to 33 people live right now. Share this. You can keep watching and share this. If you know someone who's struggling with a decision on getting engaged, on buying a house, on changing careers, on moving cross country, on changing vocations, on going to a different college, this would be a great one to share with them. So I'm going to give you the verses. I'm going to read these. It's just verse 1 through 9. I'm going to read through these, so follow along with me. To humans belong the plans of the heart, but from the Lord comes the proper answer of the tongue. All of a person's ways seem pure to them, but motives are weighed by the Lord. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. The Lord works out everything to its proper end. I circled end. Even the wicked for a day of disaster. Like, he's going to have the final say whether we jump ahead of him or not. 5, the Lord detests all the proud of heart. Be sure of this, they will not go unpunished. Through love and faithfulness, sin is atoned for. Through the fear of the Lord, there it is again, evil is avoided. Fearing the Lord to go, if I step out and do this and I don't have a peace, I don't know, I just want. The way you stay away from the doing the once rather than waiting on God is you have the fear of the Lord, because then evil is avoided. 7, when the Lord takes pleasure in anyone's way, he causes their enemies to make peace with them. I thought that's a good tip for when you're leaving or changing jobs, that when the Lord takes pleasure in anyone's way, when God is in it, he causes their enemies to make peace with them. Meaning you can go out well, you can go out strong. Like, you can go out from working somewhere, and like the people that you were at odds with, you could end on a good note when the Lord is in it. But a lot of us, if we're feeling like we want to move or do something different or change careers, we can tend to try to make villains of everyone we work with, the job, the boss, the company, to make it easier to go. But when the God's in it, when the Lord is in it, you don't have to make them bad to make the new good. You don't have to make your old house bad, and well, I always hated it, to make the new good. You don't have to make, well, I really hate the church now, and I don't like that pastor, and I don't like that staff member, to make the new church and the new place good. When God is in it, he will cause your enemies to make peace with you. The person you've worked with and never gotten along, you could end on a really sweet note when the Lord is in it. So better a little with righteousness than much gain with injustice. That's verse 8. That's saying that you can be rich but miserable, but if you can also be content in all things and very little. And so if you're going from plenty or lots to you feel God moving you to less, but it's something you have a peace about, then better a little with righteousness and God's will than much gain with injustice. And then lastly, that I'm going to say, in their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. So I have 3 questions just on that. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. So here's my questions on God's will and decision making. Number 1, do you have a plan for your life, and any interruption is a disruption to you? I'm going to say that again. Do you have a plan for your life, and any interruption is a disruption to you. Interruptions happen all the time, but disruption has a negative connotation. So when things are interrupted and the things that you were planning and you wanted and you were going for, does that interruption just take you like back and you go, that's a disruption and this isn't how it's supposed to go? And quickly we can not only become angry and sad and disillusioned, but that disruption can make us angry with God. And maybe he's interrupting something because he had something better. So for instance, at the beginning of this video, and go back, do a watch party if you missed the very beginning of the video, I was talking about Sean and I talking about being in Tacoma. And Sean goes, I feel like we maybe never should have left. And as he's saying that, I'm thinking in my head, had we not left Tacoma, we may still be in Tacoma. And I'm so grateful for the interruption and how it caused a disruption in us to have to find a path that led to Green Bay. And he goes, and I'm not saying I don't think we should be here. He said, I feel like God works all things and we're supposed to be here. He said the stops along the way probably were our foolishness between Tacoma and Green Bay. But I think about that. If we wouldn't have had an interruption or a disruption, God couldn't have completed the good work he wanted for us. So are you okay to get off the plan because maybe God is interrupting or using an interruption to take you the way he wanted to? Number 2 question to God's will and decision making. Are you willing to commit to God any new plan or steps you didn't have set? Are you willing to commit to God any new plan or steps you didn't have set? One of these verses, where is it? God establishes your steps. Here it is in 9. In our hearts, humans plan their course. I thought I was going to have 4 children because my parents had 4 children and I really liked it. And I thought I was going to have 4 kids. But the Lord establishes their steps. So I can have a plan and I can have a course of action. I was going to have a wedding in a certain location. I was going to be a certain age. I even knew what my husband would look like. He was going to have lots of hair. My guy had a shaved head even when he had hair to shave. I had this plan. And are you willing to commit to God any new plan or steps that you didn't have set up? Now, at the same time, that doesn't say just go, oh, it's a free-for-all. I don't have any standards. I don't have a plan, because God orders our steps and he gives us, Proverbs is a great way to go, what should my expectations and my plans be? Well, my plan is I want to save myself for marriage and I don't want to have sex before marriage. Great plan. Wisdom, morality, Proverbs, the Bible talks about it. So that's a great plan. Then you set a standard for that. That's different than what this is talking about. Your standard could be, I want my husband to love the Lord. I want my husband to have been raised in a Christian home, or recently, or at some point, he has his own faith. I don't have to be the one to try to teach him, or vice versa. I want a woman who I'm not like trying to go, you don't get it, but I'm going to marry you anyway. So that is standards, that is morality. But what if you wanted to have 2 kids and you end up with 4? Are you okay to commit that to the Lord? If you wanted 5 kids and you only had 1, are you going to be mad at God and go, no, this isn't how my storybook story was going to be, and I'm not satisfied with 1 child, and that child innately knows that. So number 3 question, God's will and decision making. What endings are you okay with? Like, do we just need to pray, God, I'm okay with any ending? Like, I think about the disciples and I think, what if they would have known ahead of time? And they may have had a little bit of an idea when they watched how brutally Jesus was crucified. But I wonder if the disciples would have known ahead of time that John would be boiled in oil, that so many of them would be 4-quartered, which is they were taken. These are Romans did all these crazy things. Like crucifixion was so common. So many were crucified before Jesus even came on the earth, because that's how the Romans murdered, and they were making an example and putting them on a hill for passerbys to watch. The disciples, they were 4-cornered, some of them, where they were tied up, arms, one arm or both arms, both legs, 4 horses, and then pulled apart, alive, then pulled apart. Some were beheaded, some were crucified. One disciple was crucified upside down because he didn't want to be crucified in the same manner and at the same level of Jesus. So if they would have known the end, would have they stayed on course? And it's probably a good thing they didn't all know the exact end. Am I okay not knowing the end? And am I okay going, I'm probably not going to have to go through that. But anything I go through and any course along the way, any of the steps that he establishes along the way, the interruptions, the disruptions, that I don't like this, God, am I going to go, God, but I'm okay with your sovereign will and plan, and I'm okay with the end of the story. So the question is, what endings are you okay with? Or are you okay with any ending at all? Whatever that looks like. We didn't think that we'd have multiple babies in heaven before we got 2 kids on earth. And in the moment, I didn't feel okay with it. But it is so well with my soul. It is so well with my soul because Savannah and the interruption of how she wasn't born whole and healthy would have interrupted and disrupted a lot of things that we would never be living in today. We would still be living in Tacoma, and I honestly disagree with Sean. I don't think we were supposed to stay in Tacoma. I think that we'd still be in Tacoma, and we would have gone through 18 surgeries to try to keep her alive, and she would be in pain. We met kids that were hospitalized almost their whole life and died at 7, and they died at 13, and no one had made it to adulthood. In no way am I glad that Savannah died. But it is so well with my soul that in my pain and in that interruption, she didn't have to suffer more than 18 days. And we watched her suffer with tubes and with feeding tubes and breathing tubes, and you could tell they hurt her. And she was trying to cough them out, and she would wince and she would frown, and you could tell she was trying to cry with the pain. When his will was that happened because it happened, and it is well with my soul. So are you good with anything and to say it is well with my soul? Now there's makeup on chapter 16. So didn't think that was going to happen. There are years and years that go on, and I never cry about Savannah. And when the RIP medical, just because I'm so grateful that we have 2 healthy babies when we didn't think we could have any, who are 14 and 15. And I'm sorry if I'm an ugly crier. Your comments are actually over the screen, so I'm just crying and not sure how I look. I often just don't even cry about her because I just see God's goodness in what we do have now. But I was being interviewed by the paper over the phone, Green Bay Gazette and RIP Medical, that whole article about Life Church, and it was you guys. It was Life Church tithes and offerings. We took 10% of that, probably just for a month or so, and put it aside, and then paid to RIP Medical, and it was $17.5 thousand that paid off $4.4 million in debt that they had purchased in Wisconsin from people, 2,200 or 4,000 families, something crazy. And I don't think I've cried about Savannah in years. And the lady wanted more information. I'm thinking, well, this isn't about us. This isn't about her and campomelic dysplasia. And yes, I had mentioned that our debt was paid after she died, but I was like, this is not about us. This is about the church. And I think they wanted more of a personal story. And so she said, now, how do you spell her name? And I could only get to the second N. And I had to stop and go, okay, this is a news reporter. Get it together, Sonny. So it's not that the sting is gone. It's that God's sovereignty is so much better, So, you've lost a mom, you've lost a dad, you've lost a brother, a sibling, and you go, there is no good that can come of that. And I just would beg to differ. Even in death, God's sovereignty and his mercy and what he can make of ugly can be good. And the help that you can be to someone who's walked the road, that's God's will. Even if he didn't make that person die, his will is that he'll use it. So I really want to end. So here's the 3 questions to ask yourself God's will on decision making. Number 1, do you have a plan for your life and any interruption is a disruption to you? Number 2, are you willing to commit to God any new plan or steps you didn't have set? Number 3, what endings are you okay with? Are you okay with any ending at all? And I would say if you struggle with any of these 3, read through Proverbs 16 times, 20 times, because it's just giving us a comfort that, yeah, we can have plans, but God's established the steps and his are so much better. So thanks for being on. I see that we have quite a crew. Some of you must have shared this and more people got on because you shared it. So do that again. This I didn't know, but this might be one that is helpful, not just for those trying to make a big decision right now, but also those who've gone through loss or grief, because here's the deal, death is going to affect 100% of us. And then some of us, it's going to affect us a dozen times, right in a row in our life as we deal with the death of someone else, but 100% of us will die. And, but yet we can all seem so stunned, shocked, and disrupted when it happens, but it's going to happen. And is it going to be well with my soul even before it happens? And, yeah, you don't want to live in fear, just fear of the Lord. But we have to be ready to go, God, whatever the ending is, whatever the steps are, I'm good with it. So let's pray. God, thank you for my friends. I'm excited to read their comments. I see hearts and comments and that they're loving on me, God, but we just are grateful and want to love on you, God. You're good. And in Proverbs 1, God, we just established that we love you. And I think if I could be, and if we could all be overwhelmed at a deeper level by who you are, your love, and I told Season last night, God, your sovereignty. There is just a sovereignty that you're willing to have in people's lives, but when we won't give up, and we won't give it over to you, God, you can't be sovereign. You're already sovereign, but you won't force yourself, and you won't be sovereign and can't be sovereign in someone's life who's sovereign of their own life, of their own steps, their own plans, and they are determined to stay in control and do it the way they see it. So God, I just pray that all of us would be open to that sovereignty. God, I know I feel your sovereignty in all things more than I ever have in my life, and I believe that that is linked to being in the Holy Land and being nearer to you, because it truly is a place of being nearer to you, God. Geographically, it just is. And God, thank you for that. God, thank you that my friends can just have a taste of just how good you can be. In Jesus' name, amen. Whew, okay. That being said, let's not just end on Sonny being a ball baby. It's really appropriate to be in a parking lot too, but at least it's raining and nobody can see. I'm gonna have somebody knock on the door like, ma'am, are you okay? Do you need help? Yes, I am fine. We are going to go February 16th through the 26th to Israel for a 10-day trip. That's 10 days with travel. We're going to Israel with inspirational cruises and tours. It's not a cruise. You can't cruise Israel. It is dirt and mountains. But I got a little excited when I thought that's what that would mean. No, you're actually on tour buses. But we're going to go as a church. We're going to have it out actually worldwide. So our friends in Ireland could get on the trip. People who call Life Church home that live We have people all over the world that are Life Church people because of our online community. And so we are for sure going February 16th through the 26th, 2021. Let me clarify that. Not this coming February, 2021. It's thousands of dollars, but it's not $10,000. It's, I can't say the amount. It's over $100. But start saving. It should be the trip of a lifetime that you don't wait to do until you are so much older and you go, why didn't I go sooner and live out my life on earth and my faith in this deep of a way and this deep of a love for Jesus? And it proves he exists. It proves that he was here. So we are just going to do it. Sean and I just said, let's just do it. We're not going to wait to see when do we think we're ready. And, you know, we're like, nope, that's one of those things. There is no question. God, is it your will that people go to Israel? It's his will. It's like going to his house, but ultimately you go to Nazareth, you're in his hometown. Yeah, it's with his will. It's a silly question I ever wondered, will I ever go? So February 16th through the 26th, 2021, Israel. We will be Sea of Galilee, Jerusalem, the Dead Sea, Masada, and we'll be getting more information out, but I think you're the first to hear all those details. So we would love for any and all. I mean, I could see us, because we're opening in this up nationwide and worldwide, and we'll be listed on their website, like, you know, Charles Stanley leads a tour, and Sandy Patty and the Katinas, and you know, we just went with Lisa Harper and Lisa Turker. So there's different people that head the tours. There were 400 people that were on our tour, but it was with Lisa Turkers and Lisa Harper. I would foresee us having at least 100, and I could really see worldwide those joining us for the tour. We could have a couple hundred people go, but we're on individual tour buses. And so we get to be together, and then at the sites, by then, hopefully Sean and I have been there a couple more times, so we have more knowledge at the sites, at particular sites, like on a boat on the Sea of Galilee. We have a service, we have a little worship, and we have a message, and we're on the sea that Jesus walked on water. And Sean or I will share about that area. This ministry, Inspirational Cruises and Tours, they got it. They are amazing. And so I'm so excited that we're going to be with them, and they set up everything, and they really have their own anointing and openness to God that we get to partner with. So it's going to be super special. February 16, 26, 2021. I love you guys. I know I'm losing some of you probably for work, and but share this and let people know that you were on, and hopefully this will help some people. I love you guys.